But yes, I just had the idea to come on and talk about the importance of re-embodiment as liberation, as I am preparing to co-facilitate a group healing circle for Black women called Breathwork as Liberation, Sunday, August 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific with Tea Time Beauty, fellow Black woman social worker. I've just been thinking about how often these systems try to disconnect us from our bodies, which are just filled with wisdom, information, right about the direction that we should proceed in, about environments that are harming us, about places that we don't need to be anymore, and just how many forces are at play to try to disconnect us from our bodies. I've been thinking about this in the context of enslavement, specifically, how we were generationally detached from our bodies, right? From the wisdom that our bodies give us and provide us. And it was always a way of dehumanizing us, right? If we can be cut off from how we're feeling, from the emotions that are flowing through us, from the signals, the warning signals that our bodies give us. If we can be cut off from that, think about how much leverage that gives people who want to oppress us, who don't want us to be well, over us. If they can disconnect us from this information, this vital life energy, this flowing, constantly flowing source of information that our bodies give us, just how that works to their advantage, right? Who does that benefit when we are disconnected from our bodies? And how re-embodiment can be really a source of liberation. When you are reconnected to what you're feeling, to all of these things that flow through us constantly, this information that our bodies are providing us with, how much you're able to take back your power, right? And just even thinking about my own experiences throughout my life, there were constantly these sources trying to detach me from my body. And it was, as I reflect back, healing really for me, because this has been a cycle, right? A healing cycle that I've re-entered into at this stage of my life, but I've been here in the past. And having to realize like healing for me is really becoming like coming back into my body. So many of these, hey Kiana, Level Up Single Mom, please subscribe to Level Up Single Mom. Yes, welcome, happy Sunday. But yeah, it's so intentional. It's so intentional to deliberately try to separate us from our bodies, right? They do not want us in our bodies. They do not want us to tap into the wisdom that tells us the people that we need to be around, the places that we need to be around, and conversely, the people that we don't need to be around, the environments that we don't need to be in. When we are detached from that information, how easily people who are looking to do us harm can swoop in, right, and give us all these messages about what we're supposed to be doing, the roles we're supposed to be fulfilling for other people, because we're detached, right? So we're no longer, hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining. Welcome, happy Sunday. We no longer have that information, right? We're no longer tapped into the flow that our bodies are constantly sending us. And so, how can re embodiment be a really powerful way to liberate yourself? We don't have control, right, over what people are doing externally, how they view us, how they regard us. That is something we do not have control over. What we do have control over is ourselves, right? We do have sovereignty over ourselves. And how can re embodiment, coming back into your body, doing things like incorporating somatic practices, and somatic just meaning related to the body, to heal? Because trauma lives in our bodies. But in Western healing practices, it's solely in our minds. When we think about things like CBT, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy. And not saying that CBT can't be helpful, because it absolutely can, but if we're just only in our minds trying to process, intellectualize what has happened to us, there's a limit to the healing that can be accessed because the trauma is still living really deep within our bodies, things that we have experienced, the sensations that may pop up when we're in an environment that has similar things. It may not even be the same thing. But if we get that similar sensation, we're going right back into the trauma spiral because it's living in our bodies. And so, how can re-embodiment really be a powerful source that you can tap into on your healing journey? And I've talked about this before in a past video. Hey, Grey Goose. And yes, welcome. Thank y'all to all y'all who are joining. Happy Sunday. This is my first time doing a live like this, so I'm just experimenting. But I appreciate y'all being here. But yes, coming back into our bodies, I think that's really the key, something I want to emphasize. Again, I'll be co-facilitating a healing circle called Breathwork for Liberation for Black women on Sunday, August 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And the link to register is in my YouTube community tab with fellow Black woman social worker, Danny of Tea Time Beauty on YouTube. But this is something we'll be talking about. How these systems literally try to take us out of our bodies, not even, sometimes it's even difficult to realize that we're in our bodies because we've dissociated from what we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis to survive the trauma that we're encountering. And so this is a vicious cycle, right? It's just asking ourselves, who does it benefit? When we're not able to take in oxygen, we don't realize the messages that our bodies are sending us, because there's so much information that we can tap into, and so much healing that can be accessed when we really just start at its basic element with breath. Because these environments try to steal our breath. These people who seek to oppress us do not want us to breathe deeply, because then we're able to access this deeper level of understanding about life, about what we've been through, what we've encountered, in the pathway that we should take going forward. They don't want us to be able to access any of these things. And so it is a point of resistance, right, and self-sovereignty to be able to reclaim your breath. And just starting there, when you feel yourself starting the spiral of anxiety, depression, self-doubt, inner criticism, taking a moment to pause, the power of the pause, and just stop and breathe for a few breaths. If you have 1 minute to breathe, because you are resisting systems that are telling you that you're not in your body, that you should be detached, that you don't need to pay attention to the information that your bodies are giving you. And just, again, thinking throughout my own experiences as a lifelong overachiever, how often that required me to disconnect from my body and push through. I did a video on this before about John Henryism, right? About literally working ourselves against what it feels like a machine, trying to keep up with this pace that is unrelenting, that is inhuman, right? A pace that none of us were ever meant to work at, which is again why you have to go back to the roots of where these things started. Enslavement, right? When we were forced to work at the pace of a machine. And so you are healing not just you individually, but your lineage. When you tap into the power of your breath and you refuse to be disembodied within these systems, because that's what they want. And so how can re-embodiment, again, be a source of liberation? Tapping into the information that we receive at all times. We have been conditioned, we have been socialized to cut ourselves off from that flowing tap of information that our bodies are giving us at all times. As long as we're living, right? They are sending us these messages. They're telling us when we're tired. They're telling us when we need to drink water, when we need to sit down, when we need to rest, when we need to breathe, when we need to go outside and get some fresh air. They're telling us this, but we have been socialized and conditioned to cut ourselves off from that, to ignore it, to suppress and push through, right? Often in the service of other people. And so it is a huge portal that you can access of self-sovereignty. When you come back into your body, pay attention to what it's telling you, right? The information that is trying to flow through you. And yeah, really, really pay attention and heed it. We've been taught to write it off. We've been taught that when we, for instance, I'll speak from my own experience, when we start getting migraines, because my experiences in college, right? Studying, pulling all-nighters, studying for these tests, doing these papers at this pace that none of us were supposed to be working at, that is noble, that is what we should be seeking, striving for. And I think a lot of us are questioning, like, what is this all for? Because the things that we were promised at the end, if you push yourself, if you ignore your body, if you don't give yourself rest, right? If you constantly overwork yourself, you'll get this reward. That's what it's promised to us, right? At the end of this. And many of us get there and we see that the reward is not there. The thing that was dangled in front of us the entire time, right? If you just keep pushing yourself past the point of exhaustion, you'll get it. We see that that's not true. It's a mirage the entire time. And so what if this is a ploy, right? To have us deny our body signals, suppress the information that it's giving us. We don't even get what was promised us, but we're experiencing the ramifications of our bodies deteriorating from not paying attention to the messages that they were trying to tell us the entire time. And so it's all part of this really evil experiment, this game that brings a lot of people joy. Like, I have to say that, to see us go through this. It does. And so reclamation is really important. Reclaiming your breath, it can start there. Just with a few simple deep breaths when you feel yourself starting to get anxious, starting to overwork yourself. I know this is the case for me. I'm still unlearning that pattern as a lifelong overachiever, trying to put that to the side and really refusing to ignore my body anymore. And so, yeah, I think that was the message that I wanted to say today. How can reembodiment be a source of liberation, a source of self-sovereignty? Refusing to deny yourself breath, the life force that we all need to survive and sustain this journey on earth. Hey, K-Rock World, good to see you. Happy Sunday. We need this to survive. And so it's benefiting someone if we cut ourselves off from the flow of oxygen. It's benefiting someone. And so you're coming into your liberation. You're reclaiming your power when you refuse to concede and you reclaim your breath, right? Reembodiment as a source of liberation, coming back into our bodies, healing from past traumatic experiences, awakening to new levels of understanding through breath. All of this is accessible and possible, and it can start with just a few simple deep breaths. So yes, I thank y'all so much for being here. I want to say happy Sunday. This is my first time doing this type of live, so thank y'all to everyone who has joined. And yeah, with that, I hope y'all have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll probably see y'all next week or this upcoming week. Bye, y'all. Thank you.